home invasion horror films is an interesting subgenre because it's the one that hits closest to home. Like, what do you do if people break into your home? But home invasion movies make us feel like if the time comes, we have what it takes to defend our home. Like in the 2016 film Hush, directed by Mike Flanagan, we follow a woman who is deaf and mute living alone in the middle of the woods. Now, let's get something straight here. Everyone talks about how they would love to live in the forest and just get away. But living here isn't cute after nightfall when you look outside the window and get greeted by a skinwalker. We get introduced to her neighbor Sarah, returning a book that Maddie wrote. After turning down girls' night, Maddie tries to distract herself from calling her ex. It's after this where things take a massive turn. Sarah starts pounding on the door, but Maddie is doing a great impersonation of me when Jehovah's Witnesses are at the door. But instead of bringing the word of God, she's bringing absolute terror and gets an arrow right to her fucking shoulder. Then we get introduced to the man chasing her, who's wearing the most underwhelming face mask ever. It looks like that expression you make when you say hi to your coworker in the morning and you just don't want to talk to them. Moving on, while Maddie gets a call from her sister, your coworker is in the background just out of view of the webcam listening in and swipes her phone. He starts sending pictures of her in real time, and I have to hand it to him, as bad as this guy is, I'm just surprised he's not sending any saucier pictures. You know what I mean? Once she approaches the open doorway, she sees your coworker doing what he does best.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
Honestly, if you put yourself in her shoes, the slow reveal as the camera pans over is truly terrifying because you're hoping that whatever you'll find won't be your worst nightmare. And when it is, how do you keep the bricks from shitting out? Right after this, the two rush to the door, Maddie being able to lock it first. The man tries to find other ways inside, which doesn't make sense for reasons we'll see in just a moment. Once he makes sure she can't call for help and can't escape, Maddie writes him a windowgram saying she never saw his face and can't go to the police. Remembering his manners, your coworker takes off his mask and asks if she can read his lips.
Can you read my lips? Can you?
Props to her, by the way, on this because they're like 10 feet apart, it's dark, and he speaks like a damn ventriloquist. It's here where the movie establishes their cat and mouse relationship and the reason why the movie is as long as it is instead of 10 minutes long.
I can come in anytime I want. And I can get you anytime I want. But I'm not going to. Not until it's time.
So if that's the case, why was he trying to get in earlier? The other thing is that his name is never mentioned, and I feel like we definitely need to give him a name, guys. So what's the most dangerous character I can think of? Let me see here. Prison Mike. After this, Maddie goes to hide in her room, as we all would, and wouldn't you know it, Prison Mike shows up to her window using Sarah's body to come a knockin'. I appreciate the movies that when someone close to the main character dies, the character breaks down and shows emotion. It makes the film that more real and we can sympathize with that character. At this point, Maddie remembers that Sarah put her phone in her back pocket earlier that day. She comes up with a plan to set off her car alarm as bait so she can search Sarah's pockets. Unable to find the phone, Maddie pulls back just as Prison Mike gets there and tries to stop her from closing the window. So is it now time to kill her, or what's up with this? But Maddie, proving that deaf girls do it best, grabs the hammer and sticks the pointy end in his arm. One of the inconsistencies that bothers me is that as their fight progresses, Maddie is in pain from her injuries and she's able to portray that, but Prison Mike gets stabbed and wounded a few times and recovers faster than Carol Baskins after her husband died. And you can chalk it up to adrenaline, but that wears off eventually. Nonetheless, though, we're starting to understand that Maddie has both smarts and a fight in her. Prison Mike reveals she has Sarah's phone the whole time, then sets it atop her body. Moving forward, Maddie tries to brainstorm another plan as she tries to keep from being seen from Prison Mike as he's stalking around the house. What I don't get is that he's not breaking in right now because he wants to mess with her before he kills her. But dude, all you're doing is just walking around the outside. You can't even see Maddie to enjoy the fear on her face. So what's the point? Eventually, she hides under the deck, trying to brave herself to make a run for it. However, as soon as Prison Mike whips out his crossbow, it's all fuck this and back to the house she goes. But by the way, for someone who can get attacked by skinwalkers at any time, she sure does have way too many windows. Coming up with another way to divert him, Maddie goes to the roof while Prison Mike is on patrol. She throws a flashlight into the tree line, and while he goes out to investigate, Maddie tries to climb down and gets an arrow to the thigh. Since Maddie's plans were put to a stop, it's not clear exactly what she was about to do. Considering that her last plan was to book it, I'm assuming that's what she would try again here. But if it were me, I'd immediately have climbed back inside the house, gone to Sarah's body, and snatched that phone back. But I get that that would have cut the film short, so it would have been better if Prison Mike, never left the phone there in reach. I know that it's a way of toying with her, but a better way of doing that, I think, would have been to put the phone back in his pocket, showing her that help is always within her reach, but it's still so far. After pulling the arrow out, a twist of events gives Maddie the upper hand when she takes the bow and arrows. Immediately after, Maddie treats her thigh wound in the bathroom. And this got me thinking, something that most of us say is if we were in the zombie apocalypse, we would do this, or if we were in this situation, we do that. But one thing we don't take into consideration is that we'd have to go through brutal stuff like this, like stitching up wounds, pull bullets out of our skin, crap like that. I'd much rather not. Once she gets the tourniquet on, we get the most infuriating scene. At this point, Maddie tries to load the crossbow, which is hard to do, but the film has already established that she's smart. Hey, grab a couple of towels or something to protect your fingers and pull that baby back. Even if that didn't work, the fact that she spends like 30 minutes without changing up her tactics seems a bit out of her character. While this is going on, Sarah's husband John comes by to check on her since he hasn't seen her. Prison Mike comes around posing as a detective to bring John's guard down. He uses his phone to call for backup, and the longer they talk, John realizes Prison Mike isn't a cop. He doesn't even have a badge. He tells Prison Mike about a spare key by the deck as a way to get one over on him. But with Maddie's perfect timing, she distracts John long enough for Prison Mike to
Stab you in the neck with a knife!
Not going down without a fight, John tackles Mike to the ground, getting him in a chokehold. Taking this opportunity to make her getaway, Maddie hobbles out the side door but is taken down by Prison Mike. And we get a sick death scene as he cracks her head open with a rock. And that's going to do it for this episode, guys. If you liked... Wait, what's this? It wasn't real? Now we got a peek inside the writer's brain of hers, weighing out her options. She considers running, turning on the circuit breaker, hiding, and also acknowledges their strengths and weaknesses. These types of scenes are really fun to watch because it gives us more reason to cheer and support this character. Like, we want to follow a strong final girl or just a strong character in general, and Hush understood that's what it needed to have. So after eliminating running, hiding, and waiting, she decides on the last remaining option: kill him. The problem with this, though, is that it still doesn't solve her problem. If anything, it gives her a new problem. Like, how do you kill someone who's stronger, faster, and bigger than you with 13 plus kills? Maybe the movie didn't have the runtime to see her come up with that plan, or maybe it wanted to leave it as a surprise. But you gotta understand that just deciding you're gonna kill your attacker doesn't actually solve your problem. Coming up with a plan of attack solves your problem, and even then it's not guaranteed. Moving on though, Prison Mike finds Maddie's cat, and just as it looks like he's gonna fillet her, he gets an arrow to the fucking shoulder. Running back inside the house, Maddie drops her last arrow and tries to Indiana Jones it, but Prison Mike comes in and pins her arm with a door. To make matters worse though, he stomps on her hand and breaks it. And here, even though he was able to slide that door open, he still lets her close it and lock it. When is it the time to kill her? How is that not right now? To taunt her, Prison Mike snaps the arrow in half. But that was his. What the hell does it matter to her if he breaks it? It's his property. I just imagine her dropping the crossbow instead of the arrow, and he bashes that with a rock. What are you doing here, man? After this, she challenges him to finish it. As he runs off to get the crowbar, Maddie types out his description on her Word document. And this scene actually was pretty damn heartbreaking, especially the died fighting part that kind of gets to me every time. It's just really well done. She makes her stand in the bathroom waiting for him. And this part is so weird because how the hell did he come in? There's no other entrance besides the window. But anyway, Prison Mike the magician makes the rookie mistake of talking instead of just killing the victim, and thanks to his stank breath alerts Maddie of where he is. Now with the upper hand, Maddie moves to the kitchen, too weak to make a run for it. With the clock counting down, the two battle it out in her living room. Prison Mike has the advantage, and Maddie begins seeing her family as her body begins to reach its end. Fortunately, with her last bit of strength, Maddie grabs a corkscrew and gives him a sweet neck piercing. Finally able to get her phone from him, she calls 911 and does that whole wait outside and sit on the front steps while the cops come thing. And then finally, the nightmare is over. Well, guys, that's my take on the 2016 film Hush. I really like this movie. It's a fun watch. I make fun of these movies, but I ultimately do like them. I just like to nitpick at them because, it's fun. It's fun to do that. But this movie in particular, like the way that it kept kind of rolling, the way that the momentum kept going, even though there's like little to no dialogue. Like even Mike Flanagan said that there's like 15 minutes of dialogue. Like the film was able to keep a momentum going and just kind of not be slow. It just knew where it needed to go. Like the film knew what it needed to be. Like for example, it allowed Maddie to feel the deaths of her friends. Like every time, like when Sarah or John would die, we would see how that would affect Maddie. I always like when the characters would grieve their dead, because that's something we would do in real life. We wouldn't just oh, they're dead, bye. You know what I mean? I would definitely recommend watching this movie. It is currently on Netflix. But yeah, guys, I'd appreciate your guys' support. If you guys would like, subscribe, and comment on this video, that would be awesome. Go ahead and share it. And follow my horror page on Instagram. That's at The Horror Academy. I'll be trying to get new videos out for you guys on Mondays. Like I mentioned before in my last video, I'm barely, getting used to this new format. So I'm, trying to get the videos out on time or on a specific day. So I'm going to try to focus on Mondays. So I'll be having new videos on Mondays for you guys, and hopefully I can do that. But thank you guys so much for sticking around, and I'll see you guys next time.